Come on in. So I'm going to talk about the programming aspects more. First, we're going to do temp tables, which aren't that much like programming, and then we're going to do functions and stored procedures. Does that sound like fun? I'm going to zoom it, although zooming is a bit of a pain. So I'm hooked into server 38. Community Assist for these. So they'll use Community Assist. So execute that. All right. Yeah, so I'll put it right at the top. Temporary tables. Functions. I don't think we're going to get through all these today. Stored procedures. And triggers. So I suppose the first thing might be, what are these things? What's a temp table? Anybody have an idea?
Some table that you load up with data before you make a change.
You could. It's basically, it's a temporary table. It doesn't persist. All right, so you could use it when you're doing a complicated calculation and you need to temporarily store results. You could use it like when you're dropping a table to copy the data from that table into it. Then when you recreate the table, you can copy it back. There are lots of different things you could use temporary tables for. I think the most common one is like intermediate storage of results, or just temporary storage while you do some maintenance. There's two kinds of them, and we're going to do it. One is, I forget the name of it, but it basically is limited to one login, not even the login. It's basically your session. So as soon as your session is over, it goes away, and it's private to your session so that nobody else can see it. The other type is global, and it's visible to anybody that's logged in at the same time. And it doesn't go away until you like shut down all of those sessions. So that's temporary tables. We'll look at those in a moment. We did one kind of function. Remember the table valued function? Function that returned a table. There's other kinds of functions too. There's all those hundreds of built-in functions, but you can build your own. Like if you needed to calculate the cost of something based on as you had a price you paid for it, and you wanted to make the price you charge for it 15% or 20% or more, like most businesses, 60–70% more than you paid for it, then you could do that calculation with the function that you build in. You could also use the function for, calculating literally for anything you want to do. That's probably unique to your database. So I said there are a lot of built-in functions, so you wouldn't need to do anything related to getting a sum or anything like that. Those are all pre-built for you, but there are things that are unique to your thing you might do. Functions, by the way, you can do here. You can do, MySQL will not let you build a function. You can build a function in MySQL, but you have to write it in C. And you have to add it to the core code of the MySQL. Stored procedures are groups of SQL code. They can be rather long. I've seen them go on for like 10, 12 pages. None of ours will go that long. And they all execute as a single executable thread. They're actually more efficient than doing multiple queries because of the way they execute. Really useful for controlling things like how users update. inserts and things like that, because you can combine everything. You can do some error trapping. You can force parameters so that you can make it so they can't do anything horrible to you. And triggers, anybody have an idea what a trigger is?
If something happens, then do something
Yeah.
else.
Well, it's an action event. Yeah. Basically, it's a stored like a stored procedure, except it's triggered by an event. And the event that it usually triggers are either insert, update, or delete. Now, you can have it do other things, but those are the main ones. Every time, if you put a trigger on a table and you say it's for insert, every single time you insert, it will do. It'll run, right? And if you say it's for update, every single time you update something in that table, the trigger will fire. So.
Do you have a logs that I can have for the explanation for your?
Well, we're going to. Yes, there are explanations, and we're going to go through and do them.
I want to type.
Oh, you want to type them?
So because you say that, I forget what you say. So, it's too bad, I know.
They're also, if you have the book, they're in the book.
Oh, okay. Actually, I go take a look at my book.
Use the back of the book and look up where they're at.
So they're in the chapter on
Chapter.
objects. It's towards the end. May I look at the book? Sure. I forgot to bring mine.
Yeah. Can you tell me the page number? I would be great. Don't tell me the whole book.
Programmable objects. Chapter 10.
Chapter
339.
339.
Yeah, it's actually the last chapter in the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do a couple of things that aren't in the book. Some now and the administrative ones. But we are getting there. We're actually going to probably finish. So how many weeks do we have left? Three. Yeah. We'll probably actually finish that on time.
Yay.
I was thinking we might finish earlier, and we might. Depends on how long this takes. Any leftover time will just be open lab to catch up. All right, so let's do some temporary tables. So one of the things that when you're doing this is just to see them. Actually, let's do it like right under the temp tables. So I'm just going to, what do we want for a temporary table? I'm just going to do create table, # temp employee. Let's do temp grant. It doesn't matter what we name it. The big thing about this is that it has the hash, the # hash mark in front of it. Unlike Twitter or Tumblr or something that isn't a hashtag. But it creates a temp table. And with a single #, it is a session specific. Create this, you won't be able to see it. This is a temporary table. It won't be written to the database. It's just held in temporary. So if I do, I'm just going to say, I'm just going to do, because it doesn't really matter, I'm just going to do it from the grant. I'm just going to get the fields from the grant table, from the request table. So I'm just going to do grant request columns. Come on. This is really slow. All right, so we'll do I'm going to do grant request key as an int, grant request date, date time. person key int. Again, you would usually when you're doing this, there's a reason to make it. I'm not necessarily going to. Grant type key int, and we could, put other things in there. I'm going to leave out. I'm just going to do grant request amount money. Okay, so that's my table. It's a temporary table. We'll have, because you made this, everybody will have their table in their own schema, right? Just like we have been. The database is just a mess and getting messier, but that's all right. So I'm going to insert into this temp table, this temp graph. So insert into temp grants. It's not case sensitive. And grant request key. And that should be a comma. Grant request date. Grant request. So let's do person key. Person key, and then grant type key. And then grant request amount. Interesting, notice it sees the fields for me. Okay, and then I'm just going to do select all these same fields. From grant request. And then we'll make it where grant request date. I think there's a 10, right? So I'm going to run that. 0 rows affected. Is there, what months are there? 9? 12 rows affected. So if I do select from pound temp grants, I should see grants for that month, right? Now, this is a local, right? It's local to this session. Even with me being the login, if I go to a new query and I say select star from temp grant, is that what I called it? It doesn't exist. All right. It exists in this context, but not in any other context. And the same would happen to you. Now, yours will work for you because it's in your own schema. But as soon as you opened up a new query window or something, you couldn't see that table anymore. And it doesn't persist. If I were to close this window, it would all be gone, right? As soon as I close this window, it's gone.
Can you move it over so I can see it? Please?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want it smaller?
No, that's fine. You can do small if you want. That's all I need right there.
So again, that's a temporary table that's local to a session.
And it's just like doing a normal create table.
It's just like normal creating tables. The only difference is this sign.
Okay.
I When I create the table, I guess I make misspelling and try to select it. And what do I do?
Well, I wouldn't worry about the spelling.
Here, I create a table. Here.
Just go with the spelling that you put in the table.
Okay, but why I copy the same name, give me error?
I don't know. Oh, because you're saying that's from, in the select,
Uh-huh.
in the insert, you want to put that misspelling here, but in this one, you have to spell it right.
Oh, I spell it right.
Because this one comes from the underlying table. This one is referring to the table you
The
just
table.
created, yeah.
Oh, yeah, got it. Thank you.
We're selecting this from grant request, which exists, right? The other one is the temp table that we just created.
And did you get 0 row effect?
No, I got 12.
I got no error, but I got 0 row effect.
We'll change it from 10 to 9.
10 to 9.
There wasn't anything in 10.
Oh, I see. That's why.
Yeah.
I got it same as you. Thank you.
Insert into. So you're requesting now to spell differently in the table. So notice you have, did you create the table already? Yeah. Okay. And then this one has to match the spelling of the table. You have graph request. Changing that one to work now. So just change that. Just, yeah.
No, just
And it's not going to show it because I'm using.
No, you can see it, because this one is in your schema. If you were to go to another, if you were to open another tab, query tab, you wouldn't be able to see it there.
Okay.
What you're looking at is your own table, not mine.
Oh, okay.
None of you could see my table. All right. Now, if I do this again, so this is I'm going to call this one a local temporary table. It's local to this one session. So I'm going to show you a global temporary table. And all of you should be able to see mine, and I'll be able to see all of yours. Global temporary table. The only difference is we want to create just because I don't feel like typing, right? Yes. So I want to copy this. So I'm just copying the table down here. The difference is, and I'm going to give it a slightly different name. So I'm going to say, first of all, I'm going to give it 2 things, which is actually seems to be enough, but let's call it temp grants global, just so we know. Now, the 2 pound signs is what makes it a global, which means that as long as there's anybody querying in this, it crosses sessions. So if I create this table, I still don't know for sure whether this will be, you should be able to see it, but I think that the tables that you create,
Oh, that was probably.
Yeah, so that's all right. So notice I can't recreate it because it's global. It's across things. That means everybody's got it.
So
That's
you
fine.
don't want to create for us. Oh, I said, I was like, I would think, well, anyway.
So the fact that it's already there, does anybody put data in it yet?
No.
All right, I'm going to just put the same data in it. Again, you guys see me type a lot anyway. So we need to make sure that it's 2 pound signs and it's temp grants global. Now again, we don't all want to do this. Has anybody done it already? All right, I'll do it. Okay, so 12 rows affected. And now if I do, I'll be able to do this. So, select star from double hash temp table, or what did I call it? Temp grants. So everybody should be able to see the data. And if I go to my other query window, I should be able to see it there too. So you can see it from any session. However, when all the sessions close, it goes away. Right? So as soon as you kill all the sessions, that table no longer exists. It's still a temp table. But this is a temp table when you want to share it with other people that are working. Does that make sense?
Where does this show up on the Object Explorer?
I don't know that it does.
It's currently not.
Because if it did, it would probably be up in system databases, temp tables, system temporary tables. Whoa, there they are.
Great, thank you.
Interesting. I don't know what these lines are for.
That's cool. We can see the ones that belong to other people in here. too.
Yes.
So if these persist while there's somebody connected to the session, does there have to be like zero connections to the databases to
There is, I
get rid of all of them?
think, that's actually a good question. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's true. I think it has to be all connections kept.
When are they automatically deleted, or do you have to drop them?
So they go away as soon as all the connections close.
Okay. Yeah.
The single ones go away as soon as you close your window. Right, because these are individual to your session. So as soon as you close your session, which in this case is just closing the query window, then it's gone. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. The global, I think, will persist until all connections are gone. There's all sorts of things about this that actually, if we had time, would be worth exploring. Because I'm not sure if new connections coming in have access to this, or only the current connections.
When it's created?
Yeah,
Who have been logged in before.
before it was created. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure of that, which would be worth, I mean, you could set up an experiment to test that.
I suppose. Didn't we just test it?
No, we tested that we could all see it, but we're all logged in. Right, we're all currently
Yeah. I
have
suppose one of
sessions
us
on the
log out
database.
and log back in and see if we can see
That's something you could do if you want.
it.
As I said, it would be worth the experiment. It's just that it would take some time to figure it out. But it's something I might explore it, and if you get one of you figures it out or reads it somewhere, let us the rest of us know. Because I'm not entirely sure with the single one, it's really easy, right? When it goes away, but with the global one, it's a little bit less clear how long it stays. This temp database, by the way, there are a lot of things in here that we will have access to later. But most of the stuff in the temporary database, they're kind of like this. They're scratch files or temporary tables. They generally persist for milliseconds, as opposed to, a session or whatever. Okay, other questions? I think that's really all about the temp tables. Let's go back here. They're not hard. They can be really useful. It's better sometimes to do this than to create a real table for things. It depends. Depends on if you need it to persist. Okay.
Would a temp table like that be same as a view?
Same as a what?
A view.
Well, except a view persists. A view stays there until you actually physically say drop it, right? Whereas this goes away if all the connections fail or are closed. So it doesn't last. Okay, are you ready for functions?
Sure.
Sort of a different topic, but the chapter has all these things in it. So functions are where you want to do something in the database. I'm going to start with something really stupid just to show the basic outline of a function. We'll just do a function that cubes something. So I'm going to create function. I'm going to give it a name. And fx is just a naming convention. You don't have to do that. I am going to have it take one parameter, which will be, we'll call it number, and we'll make it an int. Doesn't like that. Why? Returns int. So what does it not like about number int?
Does it need to be literal?
Oh, I know why. My brain is not there. It needs to be a variable. Now this, there's a couple of reasons why that's. One, it needs to be in its own batch. Oh, and I need as.
Actually, the places is in
I think it needs to,
those.
I'm going to declare an int. There, now it's happy. All right, so this is a basic structure of a function. You create the function, give it a name, any parameters, and if there are multiple parameters, you separate them by a comma. Right? So these are things that have to be passed into the function. This function is going to take an integer. You have to say what kind of value it returns. Remember when we did the tabular function, we had to say returns a table and then define the table? So this is this is just going to return an integer. This is a scalar function that operates row by row. And then it has an as to start it, the body. Functions, scalar functions at least have a begin and end. It's like a curly brace that begin, since the block. In here, I declared f cube equals int. You could do this more efficient. I mean, you could do it in one line, but I'm showing you the. We declared variables a little bit before, when we're doing the table expressions. And then I'm returning it. Remember, all variables, this is where I was screwing up, have an at sign. So I'm going to say set at, not pound, at cube equals at number times at number times at number, right? Cube. You don't ever have to do this. There's actually a power function pre-built. This will give us a cube. And that's the whole function. Again, it's a little bit more. You could actually declare it, set it, and return it all in. Well, actually, I don't know if you could declare it. You'd have to declare it and set it in one value. But you would have to return it separately. I don't think you could return it. Or you could declare it here and then just return. Well, you almost need to do it in 3 steps. I'd have to play with it. I'm sure you could collapse this into one step. I'm going to create the function. Again, your function, if you create it, will be there, but it'll be under your own schema. So this time, instead of temp, I'm going to go down to, I'm going to close the tables. I'm going to go down to programmability and functions. And if you look at scalar valued functions, there's a couple that I pre-built, but notice that there's my DBO FX cube, and then we've got, a couple of other cubes, right? So it's in your schema.
I don't know why I get error.
There's no, I probably know Eric. What's the incorrect syntax near FX cube? Create function FX cube. Go in front of it, although that shouldn't matter. Up above it.
Just go.
Just put a go above it. See how
Oh,
it works. Yeah.
Every time I see error, I want feel like a run.
If you don't have a go in front of it, all these create things
Okay.
want to be in their own batch. So I put a go there just to get rid of the red underline. It doesn't matter. You can make it without it. It just.
Still same, right?
I use Go too.
If
And it'll be upset if I don't do a go after it before I do use the function. So I'm going to use this function in a couple of ways, and then we'll do a more interesting function. Not entirely sure what that will be, but we'll figure something out. So I'm going to do select. For right now, I'm just going to use the function. You have to use the schema. So if you want to use my function, you can use DBL, but you could also use FX underscore Q. You could use your own. And then in the parentheses, I need to provide it a value. So right now, I'm just going to provide it 3. It's a literal. And when I run that function, it will return 27. 3 times 3 times 3. And if I wanted a column name, of course, I could just as, cube is a, what is cube used for as a keyword?
Are you changing the name?
No, I just aliased it so that it says cube down here. Let me think in the table. The annual salary is in a, well, annual salary isn't an int. Trying to think of what I could cube from a table.
We just grab a key.
Yeah, we could cube the keys, but it just. there anything that makes any sense to Cube? Probably not.
A higher date.
Except that it won't do it because we said it had to be an integer. We could have make the function so that it takes in a date or a thing, but
Donation, maybe?
if we change the data type,
Oh, yeah, it's all money.
let's just, this is stupid, but I just want to show you how you would put in a field. So I'm going to do DBO dot FX cube, and I'll just put in the person key. From person. All right. And if I want to alias this, I can do as all right. So I'm just putting, rather than a literal number, I'm putting in a value from a field. And that should give us the cube of these values. We might want to order them. Again, if you actually want to do fx underscore EBO fx underscore cube, might be able to order by cube. I'll try that.
You can tell it to just order by person key.
No, it would, because they've been cubed. I guess we could try.
Still worked.
Yeah. Yeah. 1 times 1 times 1, 8. Yeah. Same results as by person key or by the function.
I told it to order by person
Yeah.
key and it worked just fine.
Oh, without the function?
Yep.
I did it as function.
I didn't know because we're messing with the person key. We're changing it. And we're not showing the person key.
It's still in the same
It
order.
should still be the same though. Actually, it wouldn't hurt to show the person key. Just so you can see the cubes. So 1 is 1, and 2 is 8, and 3 is 27, and 4 is 64, and etc. I'm actually kind of surprised that it didn't overreach the bounds of integer. Came close, actually. All right. So that's a simple function.
How big does an integer get?
I think it's just a 32-bit integer. So what is the max 32-bit? 6 million, 60 million? I'm not sure. Is that 300 million? What is it there?
That is 3 million.
3 million. I do know that there are certain functions that I've done where it goes beyond integer and it gives you a overflow.
What's the next step? Is it
64-bit is the next
big?
big one.
Big.
Okay, so that's a simple function and using it. Does that make sense? What would make a good function? Give you a couple of examples.
Yeah, across the word function. I guess.
We'd have to have something to feed into it, I guess.
It's saying it's like 2 billion for the max.
That sounds right, yeah.
The max 32 bits. So 134 cubed is bigger than that. Is that when it only goes up that many rows?
There's only that many rows in the table. But I do know, so what have I done? There's something I did not long ago where we converted a,
It was like phone numbers to integers. It didn't like doing that.
yeah, I didn't like phone, it said it went out of bounds.
Mhm.
Are they over 1 billion? They would be. Right, because of the, if you treat them as one long string, and, you know.
Cast them into big-ins in order
Yeah.
to do the format.
So I need a good function from community assist here. Yeah, I'm thinking we could do something with donation amount. Amount. A couple of things about only return one thing at a time. Right, so let's make a kind of generic function. Let's say we said one of the rules of the charity was that 20% should go to the running the thing and 80% to the thing. So I'm going to just create a function. Create function fx. I don't know. I'm going to call it percent amount. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in two things. I'm going to put in the amount, and I'll do it as money because that's what the ones are here. And I'm going to that would probably be decimal precision, but I just don't want to run into problems. All right, it returns money and as begin and end. Okay, so I'm going to do a go there. That'll help with it a little. This is red because I haven't set a return statement yet. So what do I want to declare? A variable to store the result. Oh, just do result. And it will be money. All right. And then if I want to get rid of that red line up at the top, I can say return is at result. It would throw an error if we tried to write that because result has no value. Let me lower this a little bit for now so I can get it more in the screen. So that's sort of the shell. We'll just do some math again, and I'll maybe show one other. I'll actually show a little bit that you can do inside it a little bit more. So at result would, so we need to set it. You always have to use set or select to assign a value. At result. Typed what I spoke there. Equals basically amount times percentage. But there is a caveat here. Does anybody know what it is? Depends on how they enter their percentage. Right, so if they enter it as a big whole number, then you need to divide it by 100. Yeah. So we can do that. I mean, we could say right in here. Now, I'm going to assume there's no 0%, which may or may not be a good one. I'm going to do an if. at percentage greater than 0. I'm going to do a begin and end kind of like the curly braces for this. Let me kind of indent. And inside of that, I'm going to say at percent, set at percentage. Equals at percentage, spelled right. Divide it by 100. So have we done any if statements?
Not yet.
Okay. It looks a lot like an if statement in any language. Actually, we don't need the parentheses, but it won't hurt if they're
Do
there.
we use else in here maybe?
We could do yeah, else. We don't need an else here, but we could.
Well, less than 0.
A less than 0 should be fine. Right, because the percentage should be less than 0. Well, I mean, it should be a decimal, right? I'm trying to think if there's more I could do in here. We could put this whole thing inside of because we're saying if it's greater than 0, do that. We could do if the amount of money is 0, then don't do anything, right? So if you wanted it embedded, you could say if, now I'm making this really complicated, but actually that's good. If amount equals 0, actually let's do it if amount, if not amount equals 0, then what we'll do is all of this. And then I go down to here. And this is the end of this outer one. I'm going to move this in. And. This is becoming complicated, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Then down here, I'll do else. I'm just going to say here, set result equals 0. So if the amount of money is 0, this will be 0. I think that would happen anyway. Doesn't like 0.
Can you zoom back, please?
Oh, it's at result. All right, this is just to show you what you could do in functions in terms of complexity. Yeah, let's unzoom. I wish this zoom had something other than.
This is the decrease.
Now you can do string things in here too. So I'm going to go through and comment a little. But you don't have to. So those have to be passed in. I will put it all up, yeah.
I don't know.
So does that help or not?
Yes,
Wait,
but,
can you just give us a second?
Sure.
yes.
So you take in percentage, these have to be taken in, right? So we'll do this and we'll just see, we'll do it a couple of different ways once we run it. You have to say what the return type is. And notice it has an S. That's to distinguish it from the actual return value. Okay.
Yeah.
While you do this, I'm going to run it to make sure it works. I mean, I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to make sure that there's no. This is more like programming. For what it's worth, I hate beginnings.
Yeah. So it runs, right? Works.
Yeah, mine worked.
I
Without
had, I
error.
don't know, I got error, and I would have thought, make sure everything's matched. Works. But he don't.
It doesn't need that. In fact, don't do that. The error is.
Oh, man.
Oh, yes. That should be all right.
Sometimes return returns.
Yes, there's two different things. So returns money and then return result. Try it again.
So they say, I do that last, I do the bottom of return one.
Yes. Well, actually, it returns result. And that result is set as money.
It works.
So the trick to see if it really works is to use it. But
To do the trigger, where do you call it from? What's the table that's in?
we'll do triggers in a while, but when you do them, you have to, say what table it's on when you create the trigger.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure that out. I just want to see what it.
Well, this one isn't a trigger, this is a function.
Oh, okay, so earlier we made a function called fx cube, and then right after that, that's not called a trigger when you select.
No,
Okay,
So that's just using a function.
It's gonna trigger like a while loop. It's gonna trigger while something is correct.
Well, actually, a trigger just happens if you say the trigger's for insert, it'll trigger every time an insert
So
happens.
is it kind of like when we insert a new entry and it auto number stuff?
Kind of like that. I mean, you could do you could check something, if you want to check something every time somebody inserts into a particular table, you could look at that. More often, you would want to check when they update or delete something. But it literally fires every time. There's usually not a condition. It's just when they insert, when they update, when they delete. In fact, I'm not sure you can put a condition on it. All right, so let's use the function. You guys got it?
Mhm.
So again, yours will be in your own. I am going to select, so I'm going to select donation amount. And then I'm going to do my function dbo dot fx, whatever this is. What did I name it? fx percent amount. And I'm going to pass in two values. One of them will be the donation amount, right? Because the first thing was the amount. And then for the percent, I'm going to put in, so 20, and I'm going to say as charity, I don't know. And then I'm also going to do DBO FX percent amount, which it isn't showing me, but that's not uncommon. I'm actually going to break this line just so it stays. And I'm going to, and this time I'm going to do a point. So I'm entering the different ways, and this should still work. All right, from donation. It is donation amount, right? Yeah, there it goes. All right, so for each row, it gives the original, the calculation is wrong, right? It didn't do, I think it divided the other one by 100 too.
So
It's over 0. So I think we need to change that to greater than 1. And to do that, what you have to do is you have to alter the function and run the whole thing, kind of like the, so all the way down to the end. I'm going to execute it again.
did you do the alter function after go before create function?
Well,
No, you
no, you have to
replace
get rid of the word
create.
create
Okay.
and then do alter. And then I changed the percentage to 1. Then it makes more sense. You could also, I'm going to do the same thing, but a little bit different. If you didn't want to see like what every row is and you wanted the totals, you could do sum donation amount. And instead of passing in the donation amount, you could pass in the sum donation amount. And this would give you like one row.
Donation.
I wonder if I have to do, so let's do this. Maybe it's not going to work by, oh, it's because I didn't sum the other one. I think it'll work if I do sum here. It's just that I have to do some donation here too.
Do you need the second?
No, not after you redid it. See, that works. Except the first one is, there we go.
So I'm kind of confused. How are these percentages? Where are the percentages?
We're making them up. We're just entering them right here.
Yeah, but there's like 1,000 percentages and 5,000 percentages. I'm just trying to
What do you mean?
I'm just trying to understand, like, we created a function where it's the percent amount.
Right, but you have to tell it what percent. So this is 20% and this is 80%. They're entered in two different ways. One is a decimal, one is a...
So what we're doing is pulling up what percent of all of them.
Yes.
This last one, we're doing the percent of what all of them, so we get the sum. What percent of the total that they've taken in is for them, and what percent is for the charity. Now, the donations don't match. There's like 1 month worth of donations in there, so it doesn't make sense if you look at the business model there.
What about the 86 to 88?
86 to 88.
Okay, so if I
So that's per donation. So if I run that one by row, so this donation amount was $157.50. The organization gets $31 and the charity gets $126.
got it. Okay, cool.
And it does it for every single row, right? This one's real obvious, 100 to 400. I haven't. The only thing I was wondering, did you ever get it so it'll download the database? Just into the ones from Server 38, so we can run them locally. Actually, we don't need the ones from Server 38. Can we create databases locally?
Should be able to, but it should have permission.
Okay, we'll try it.
I'll be here.
Yeah, okay, thanks. We might do that before we do the triggers. As I said, triggers are going to be weird. You do not ever want to have small class today, but this many triggers on one table.
Now I want to have that many triggers.
What? Now you want
Make
to?
it sound so interesting.
Well, what it does is it just creates a clutch. It slows it down, especially if they're all doing the same thing. All right, questions on functions? I mean, you don't have to do just numbers in here. You can return character types too, because I think one of the things that I had you do was to create a function that would create the email address, because everybody has a Metro Alt email address, and it's just first name, last name, first name dot last name at metroalt.com. So it's just concatenating. You can do that in a function. Just take in their first name and last name and output a thing. Trying to think if I need any other functions. I could show you, not that we're not going to do this, but just to show you another function. And then we'll go on to talk about stored procedures, I guess. What is our time like? Might be worth seeing if we can create the databases locally. I'm looking for functions, programmability. So this is the function that hashes the password. It takes in an integer seed that you can concatenate with it, and it takes in the password. And it basically, I declare 2#, and it sets the 2# equals the password and the seed concatenated together. declares a variable called hash. There's a built-in function called hash bytes. And this is a 512-bit hash. And then it returns that, which is what that big long hash does. It's a simple function for that. The other, so I just wanted to show you another example of a function. This one that we use in the database for. These can be really useful. Functions can really make your life easier, especially if you find yourself doing the same calculations over and over again. Why do that? Just create a function for it, and then you don't have to do those calculations again.
So you can add and drop and alter functions.
Yes, you can. They're just like any other object. So as I said, come on, where is there it is. I'll zoom so you can look over here. So you have these different functions here. And any of these, if you can alter them, right? So we did that with ours. Let's go back. There's this one, I guess. You can alter it to make changes to it. And if you want to get rid of a function, you can just say drop. And you don't have to repeat the whole thing. You can just say drop function. You probably have to do the like DBO dot or whichever one you want to drop the schema, and then the name of the function.
A good reason to drop a function?
Well, so sometimes, although it worked okay today, sometimes alter doesn't work very well. Another reason is maybe it's just not relevant anymore. You could drop it in. Or maybe that there's a new version of the function, and rather than alter the existing one, you just want to drop it and put a new one in there. But yes, you can alter. All of these you can alter, create, alter, and drop. We also have the table valued function. Actually, we don't. Should be table valued functions. Wonder why it doesn't have any. Did I did them in here, didn't I? I know we did. So in Metro Alt, it's programmability. All of these things are under programmability. Yeah, there's all those table valued functions you guys did. Scalar, I don't think there are any. Now in SQL, the functions vary a lot across different database management systems. There are certain things that are fairly standard, like you usually find max, min, average, sum, count. You'll find some other ones. We can make table valued functions, and we can make scalar valued functions. Aggregate functions you have to write in C#. I'm not sure what other aggregates you would want, but. And then system functions, I think I've shown you this before. And then we're going to try, I'll save this, but we'll take a break to see if we can create the databases locally. Aggregate functions, these are the aggregate functions. Configuration functions, cursor functions, date and time functions. Other functions, oh, it's a lot of other functions. Those functions are all pre-built for you. So. Okay, just to be on the safe side, because I need to post this, I'm going to.
So how do we check the function that we create? That means
What?
the function that we create, how do
It should be in the list of functions.
Yeah, I look up, but I don't see it.
We might have to refresh.
Oh, refresh. Cube,
That's Metro.
Oh, that is Metro Alt. Let's go up here.
okay. Community.
Whoa, okay.
There you go.
All right, so this one I want to save. So I'm going to, let's see if we can make a database. If we can't, we'll continue with what we were doing. So I'm not going to disconnect, although I'm going to collapse this a little bit. I'm going to connect to database engine. I'm going to try to connect to the local SQL Express. Mine isn't connecting. Anyone else get that error? That worked. I just did SQL Express. All right, so we got databases. I have these databases here.
So did you just reconnect?
So what I did, I just .SQL Express. So those yours should connect. You got it, right?
Do I have to unconnect the?
You do not have to unconnect server 38.
I have it, but I don't have it.
Right, you probably wouldn't have any databases. So if you click, so what I did is I just collapsed server 38. It's there, I didn't disconnect from it. And then I did connect database engine, and I just typed /SQL Express, although you should probably have it there. So, Express, SQL Express. So I'm going to delete Community Assist. I'm deleting it from SQL Express, not from, at least I hope. Yeah.
No.
This is cheating. You should drop it. I mean, in SQL, you should just say drop database Community Express. But that's actually all it takes. It's really scary how easy it is to, I just want to make sure. Yeah, it's still there on server 38. Okay. So I'm going to do a new, while I'm in here, I'm going to do a new query.
Steve,
Yeah.
Mine isn't showing Community Assist and database.
No, you don't have them. Right? You don't have them. We're going to see if you can get them. That's why I deleted it, so I can do it again.
Okay.
So you want to go for the Community Assist, and this will be the test. If we can do this, then we can probably get Metro Alt too. So I'm going to go to GitHub. All right, so the address is basically just GitHub SP Conger. And it's the database schema. I'll do community_assist. All right, and you need to go raw, because otherwise you get all of the line numbers and you get all sorts of garbage that you don't want.
Raw, it does this.
Yeah.
So I'm an IE, does that make it?
Yes, IE doesn't work. Community _ assist.
Okay.
How do you actually have to go and ask for IE? Do you go and do that?
How would you use IE?
Well, there are some things. Citrix won't work. But, well, actually, yeah, Citrix doesn't work really well in,
Firefox does it.
actually doesn't work in Firefox very well either.
Looks good.
And actually the instructor briefcase doesn't work in, it does work in Firefox, but it doesn't work in Edge. Citrix could be made to work in Firefox and others, it just hasn't been. It does, well, it doesn't work in Chrome either. Anyway, all of that aside, does it? You have to set it up though, right, to permissions or something? I haven't tried it in Chrome lately because it didn't use, oh, Firefox works, okay. Anyway, so Control A, Control C, or however you prefer to copy. Go back to here and make sure you're in the local SQL Express. Yeah. Control B. Don't run it on those. I mean on server 38. Although actually I wrote it the first time. I've actually been just scripting it since.
What does that mean when you're scripting it?
I'll show you in a second here if you want.
How do you know, how do you get into putting it into the Express?
So mine worked. Did yours guys work? No. Same permission issues. Same permission issues. It isn't going to work.
It's not working yet. Won't let me do it in master. Can we tell it to use
Well, at least
3179 or whatever?
No, it has to work through master. Database creation happens through master.
Okay.
So you want to know how to do this part because that would happen.
It still isn't working. So
This machine does not have the
mine works, but yours
Is
don't.
there a way for us to do this like?
See, my problem is I have permission. And so when I would come in there and test it, oh, we could do that.
Can
And then it doesn't.
we just tell it new database and not do this to the script? Like,
You could try, but I don't think so.
let's give it a shot.
Without the script, I'm not sure how you set it up anyway.
Just do the object explorer.
If the script in the database doesn't work, I'm pretty sure you don't have permissions. in there.
Exception occurred. Permission denied in master. Well, we'll worth a shot.
All right, so I'll talk to David, but in the meantime, we'll go ahead with stored procedures, unless you guys want to like quit for the day and do the stored procedures on Wednesday.
We have time and we have homework to work on.
And so we can work on some of this.
Yeah. All right, I'll start the stored procedures on Wednesday. That'll give me time to talk to David to see if the permission thing, because I don't think anything's changed. If I went around to each machine, we tried it on yours. I logged in as me and tried to give permissions on SQL Express, and it wouldn't allow me. Yeah, I was trying to do permissions on the local. And it'd have to be machine by machine because it is local.
Yeah, but what's weird is why do you actually,
Because I'm an administrator.
but if, what's, I'm trying to understand is if you log in and then you use your virtual machine, you should be able to install.
See, today you done, right?
Well, does somebody want to log out and let me log in again? Let me see if I can install.
But yeah, didn't you try that before and somehow?
Somehow it didn't work because the user is the machine. This is the instructor machine.
That's what I'm saying, I was wondering
Yeah.
if he matched you to the instructor machines.
Okay. So if I this is just real quick. You guys can we'll consider the rest an open lab. This is just an experiment.
Can I? Oh.
Thank Thank you so much.
All right.
Nice day.
Okay, If this works, I'll do it on the machine here. Yeah. I will find some time.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, okay. Let me think about it and think about it.
Okay,
Okay. So I get the same permission errors. I don't have permission. Sure, sure. So, yeah, I have the same errors because it's the machine that's using the user. Well, let me stop the video.
The machines have specific permissions as well.
Yeah, well, so this each machine, it logs in it's a SQL Express for that machine, and those machines don't have the permissions. This one is the instructor machine, so it has the permissions.